And now we have this fascinating study that just came out. Olga Naidenko is with us, Dr. Olga Naidenko, who is a senior scientist with the Environmental Working Group and the lead researcher for the Environmental Working Group's 2009 report. She's reviewed over 200 current studies on cell phone radiation for that report. And this is a report on cancer and cell phones. And am I pronouncing your name correctly, Dr. Naidenko?
Yes. Hello, Tom. That
Hi.
is right.
Thank you very much for joining us. So the study that you produced, what is the title of it and what are the conclusions?
We started this research at Environmental Working Group 3 years ago because if you think back to that time, there has been a lot of reports in the media. Some people say cell phones cause brain cancer. Some people say, especially companies, say cell phones are completely safe. And we were curious. We just wanted to follow the data. We started this research. We looked at the studies published as of 2009, and we could see the precautionary flags. There were new studies coming up showing that long-term cell phone users seemed to be at greater risk for developing brain tumors. And of course, yesterday, World Health Organization came up with their own review of the latest research, and they said exactly what we said. They said cell phones are a possible carcinogenic risk to people.
Well, and in fact, they said that it is at the same level as leaded gasoline and some pesticides. I mean, it's...
Yes, indeed. Some pesticides, such as DDT, and they didn't say drop your cell phones on the spot. What they said, studies indicate caution, and everybody can take simple precautionary measures to decrease the exposure, even as more research is being done.
So some just kind of straightforward questions on this. For example, if you plug a headphone into your cell phone, does the radiation travel up the headphone into your head, or is it basically coming out of an antenna in the cell phone, and that insulates you enough from it that you're not irradiating your head? Or if you're using a Bluetooth, I know they operate at a lower frequency range. It's not in the microwave frequencies, I believe, and they operate certainly at a much lower power range. They only have a range of 10, 20 feet as opposed to miles. Is that, are these the common sense solutions that you're talking about?
Absolutely. Using a headset is really inexpensive and easy step everybody can do, and we recommend everybody should do. The important thing to remember, though, is it's best to just keep the phone away from the body. What we don't want to see happen is people don't use the phone on their head and they stick it in their pocket. Well, we like our brains. We don't want to get brain tumors, but we also don't want our other really important organs to get that kind of radiation. So if using a headset, putting the phone on the table next to us, easier for ladies, putting the phone into our handbag, just keeping it away from the body.
And don't even put it in your hand.
Well, the way it works out is that soft tissues absorb more radiation. So that's why we are worried about the brain. That's why we are worried about internal organs. Bones don't absorb as much. So our hands, relatively speaking, are less of a concern than having it on my hip, basically in my pocket.
Right, where it's near your spleen or your liver or your
intestines, all kinds of other organs down there that I really don't want affected.
Now, there was two other questions here that just, at the level of science that I'm very, very curious about. It's wonderful to speak to somebody who's actually been doing the work on this.
Absolutely.
For the first couple of decades of cell phones, I had a brick phone. I had a bag phone back when they came out. I had one of the very first small head cell phones, and when I would use it for a long time, I actually got physical heat burns on my fingertips, on the pads of my right fingertip and my right thumb that took like 2 years to go away. And the phone would get really, really hot, and the side of my head would get really hot. They were running analog. And so, in other words, it was continuously sending data, and it was modulating, I'm assuming frequency modulating that data. Now with the digital phones, they're sending little micro bursts, digital bursts of data, and so there's, I'm assuming thousands or even tens of thousands less radiation being emitted by the current generation of phones than just 15 or 20 years ago. Could it be that, and given the latency period for cancers, 10, 20 years, could it be that the cell phones that Ted Kennedy, for example, was using as an early adopter, that those actually are the ones that were producing the cancers we're seeing now, and that the cell phones we have now that are digital that produce less radiation are less dangerous?
You are definitely hitting the right point there. The old analog phones, they were basically blasting radiation out, and the symptoms you describe, feeling really, really hot, well, that's because those phones were operating at really high power. Right. So here's the good news. The new technology is much better at adaptive power control, basically using the smaller amount of radiation that they can to send the signal. Now, there's a bad news with that, is that, of course, now we have everybody using the cell phones. 5 billion people on this planet, a huge percentage of whom are young people. In late 80s, early 90s, it was just a few adults. How many people you knew who had a cell phone? Nowadays, children and teenagers are the fastest growing group, and they're getting exposure at a time when their tissues are still developing. So that's where really the concern is right now.
So even though we may have phones that are less dangerous, we're exposing a much, much greater population, so we'll probably, at the end of the day, in absolute numbers, have more cancers.
Well, what we will get at the end of the day, that is a billion-dollar question, just as we have billion of phone subscribers out there. But again, let's start with the good news. The cancers that have been identified by the World Health Organization, such as several kinds of brain cancers, they are relatively rare.
So like the gliomas.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does not mean that every single cell phone will get it. That's the good news. Most of us will not. The bad news, these are nasty cancers, and they're really expensive to treat. So should the number of those cancers double, well, that's a giant health bill for us as a nation. So that's something to worry about. One
other question. There was a piece that was published, I believe it was last week, in the I read several science journals. I believe this one was in the Journal of the AAAS, Science Magazine, the American Academy for the Advancement of Sciences, and if not there, it was in maybe one of the British analogs. And what it found was that cell phones, not even towers, but just a cell phone, if it was kept near a beehive long enough, would cause the bees to go into swarming mode, that it caused an increase in what's called piping, the sound that the bees make that is a warning of threats and danger that causes the hive to flee and leave the queen behind and cause sudden colony collapse. If cell phones can do this to bees, what might they be doing to us beyond causing cancer? We have about a minute left.
I think, again, the point here is that there is much of science that needs to be addressed. There are new studies ongoing in Europe right now looking at various aspects of health. Is it just brain tumors? Probably not. Maybe it's affecting sleep. Maybe it may be affecting my heartbeat. Maybe it may have an effect on my reproductive function. We need to know those answers, and in the meanwhile, we need to take cautionary steps.
Yeah, and the heart produces this huge radio frequent electromagnetic field.
It's an electromagnetic organ.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
We need to take care of it.
And if you put a cell phone in a shirt pocket, just the idea of that makes me shudder. Dr. Olga Naidenko, thanks so much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for the work you do.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So what are you going to do about your cell phone in the light of this? Run right out and buy a headphone.